In every supermarket aisle, in every scrolling feed, a silent tide pulls us toward more things, more noise, more hunger for what we don't truly need. Yet history whispers a different lesson. The Stoics once taught that freedom begins not by owning less, but by learning to want less. And in that single shift lies a secret. Consumption can be transformed from a trap into a choice, from a burden into liberation. In this video, we step beyond minimalism into a philosophy far older and deeper, where Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca meet our modern struggles with consumerism. Together, we'll uncover how conscious consumption, guided by Stoic wisdom, can dissolve stress, restore clarity, and redesign the way we live in a world overflowing with excess. Stay with me, because what follows are not theories, but practical ways to live freely, lightly, and without the invisible chains of endless wanting. When we speak of consumption, most picture the physical act of buying, the click of a button, the swipe of a card, the weight of a shopping bag in hand. Yet the Stoics would remind us that the true price of consumption is rarely written on the receipt. It is carried in the hours we trade, the anxiety that lingers, the restlessness of always waiting for the next upgrade. Consumerism, in its modern form, does not simply fill our cupboards, it colonizes our minds. Every advertisement whispers that what we have is incomplete, and every desire we entertain creates a subtle fracture in our peace of mind. The Stoic philosophers, living in a world with far less abundance than ours, saw this trap with startling clarity. Seneca warned that it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. To crave without end is to be enslaved to the very things we think we own. This is the paradox of modern life. In the pursuit of more, we give away the freedom that simplicity once promised. Minimalism scratches the surface by asking us to declutter, but Stoicism goes further. It challenges us to transform the way we perceive desire itself. To live consciously, to consume with awareness, is to step outside this restless cycle. It is not about banishing all possessions or fleeing into austerity, but about asking with quiet honesty, does this serve my life, or does it drain it? Each question is an act of liberation, a reclaiming of time, attention, and inner peace. The man who buys mindlessly is consumed as much as he consumes. The one who chooses with intention, however, discovers a rare lightness, the kind of freedom that is not bought, but earned through discipline of thought. This is the hidden cost of endless wanting, and why the Stoic path to conscious consumption begins not with our wallets, but with the re-education of our desires. The Stoics lived in a world of empires and marketplaces, yet their wisdom pierces through to us with uncanny relevance. They understood that ownership itself is not the problem. A cloak, a home, a tool. These are not vices, nor are they obstacles. The danger lies in the invisible thread that ties our sense of identity and happiness to those possessions. When an object becomes more than its use, when it begins to dictate our pride or our status, we are no longer its master. We are its servant. This is the subtle shift that conscious consumption demands. Not the renunciation of all things, but the redefinition of what it means to own. Marcus Aurelius reflected often on the impermanence of material goods, reminding himself that they were only borrowed from nature, destined to return. To him, a possession was not a trophy but a tool, meant to serve life rather than complicate it. In this light, conscious consumption asks us to hold everything lightly, to value it for its purpose, yet never allow it to chain our freedom. In our world, where advertisements equate possessions with identity, this practice becomes a quiet form of rebellion. To wear clothes that serve their function without chasing every trend. To drive a car that moves us without measuring its worth against our neighbors. To choose a simple meal without longing for a grander table. These are not acts of deprivation, but acts of discipline. They restore us to a state where things are once again in their rightful place, beneath us, not above us. And here lies the deeper secret. The fewer possessions own us, the lighter we move through life. To step into a home where every object has a purpose and none a claim over your peace is to breathe in freedom itself. This is not extreme minimalism for austerity's sake. It is Stoic wisdom woven into daily living. It reminds us that we are stewards, not prisoners, of the material world. The goal is never to have nothing, but to ensure that nothing has us. If the Stoics could walk among us today, they would not be startled by the scale of our possessions or the glitter of our wealth. What would shock them is how willingly we surrender the most precious resource of all, our attention. Unlike gold or silver, unlike even time, attention is life in its purest form. What you notice, what you feed, what you choose to dwell upon. For Marcus Aurelius, every thought was a seed, shaping the character of the man who held it. For Epictetus, the discipline of the mind was the truest test of freedom. Modern consumerism thrives not only on our money, but on our gaze. Every flashing screen, every product placement, every curated desire is designed to hijack attention and convert it into craving. It is not possessions alone that weigh us down, but the endless pull on our mental space. To consume without mindfulness is to scatter our focus across 1,000 empty desires. To consume consciously is to guard that focus as if it were the very breath of life. This is why the Stoic path to conscious consumption is as much about what we allow into our minds as what we carry in our homes. The books we read, the conversations we entertain, the noise we filter, all become a diet for the soul. When we are deliberate, when we ask, does this sharpen me or does it scatter me? We begin to reclaim mastery. Like a careful gardener, pruning the weeds to let only the strongest roots grow, we learn to cultivate attention toward what nourishes peace, discipline, and clarity. And here is the paradox. When attention is guarded, simplicity follows naturally. The unnecessary falls away, not because we force it, but because it no longer enters our orbit. Life lightens, not through radical renunciation, but through choosing what deserves our gaze. To guard attention, then, is to walk the Stoic path of conscious consumption at its deepest level, a life designed not by impulse, but by intention. In the rhythm of daily life, the line between what sustains us and what burdens us has grown dangerously thin. Modern consumer culture thrives on indulgence, endless novelty, endless upgrades, endless tastes of more. Yet the Stoics observed long ago that the human spirit requires far less than our appetites suggest. Seneca wrote that nature is content with little, while desire is boundless. The difference between nourishment and indulgence is, in essence, the difference between freedom and slavery. To consume with consciousness is to ask, does this enrich me, or does it merely entertain me? It is not about rejecting pleasure, but about recognizing that unchecked indulgence weakens the very resilience we seek to cultivate. A simple meal eaten with awareness nourishes both body and mind. A library chosen with care nourishes wisdom for years, while stacks of unread books serve only as decoration. Even leisure, when measured, restores the soul. When excessive, it dulls it. The Stoics were not ascetics hiding from joy. They embraced what was sufficient, what allowed them to live with vigor, clarity, and gratitude, while letting go of what led to dependency. In a society drowning in abundance, this perspective feels radical. Conscious consumption today means curating a life where nourishment is central, food that strengthens rather than numbs, possessions that serve rather than decorate, experiences that uplift rather than distract. And here lies the secret most overlooked. Sufficiency is not deprivation. It is abundance rightly understood. When we learn to stop just short of indulgence, we discover an unexpected surplus. More energy, more clarity, more calm. It is the difference between carrying a light pack up the mountain or being crushed beneath unnecessary weight. To choose nourishment over indulgence is to step into a life that is lighter, freer, and infinitely more resilient. This is the fourth step on the Stoic path to conscious consumption, not just less for its own sake, but better, chosen with the wisdom of sufficiency. There is a rhythm to life, older than cities, older even than the human memory of history. It is the rhythm of sunrise and sunset, of tides that withdraw only to return, of the seasons that arrive not with haste, but with certainty. This rhythm has carried all living things, from the smallest insect to the tallest tree, across the great span of existence. Yet, in our modern age, we have drowned out this sacred rhythm with an endless cacophony of notifications, deadlines, and demands. We live not by the pulse of the earth, but by the ticking of the clock. And it is here that minimalism reveals one of its quietest, yet most profound, truths. To live simply is to rejoin the ancient rhythm that has always sustained life. When one begins to strip away the clutter, the objects, the obligations, the manufactured urgencies, what is revealed is not emptiness, but cadence. The day once again takes on a shape. The soft coolness of the morning, the still pause of midday, the long golden taper of dusk. Food, when prepared with care rather than haste, becomes more than sustenance. It becomes ritual. Conversation, when given without distraction, becomes communion. The world ceases to feel rushed because it was never rushing at all. It was only we who stumbled out of step. Minimalist living, in its essence, is not an act of resistance against modern life, but an act of remembrance. To remember that life was always meant to flow with balance, not with frenzy. To recognize that within the pauses and silences, something extraordinary occurs. The mind attunes itself to the rhythm of existence. Like a bird carried by a thermal current, effort is replaced by alignment, and a sense of profound peace settles in. This sacred rhythm, once rediscovered, becomes a compass. It reminds us that simplicity is not about less, but about harmony. Harmony with ourselves, with others, and with the living world we inhabit. To walk in rhythm with life is to finally come home. As we step back from the clamor of modern life, the lesson becomes clear. Freedom, clarity, and peace are not found in acquiring more, but in consuming consciously, aligning desire with purpose, and walking deliberately through each day. The Stoic path to conscious consumption is not a restriction. It is an invitation to live lightly, to move through life unburdened, and to discover the profound joy that comes when every choice is intentional. This is more than minimalism. It is a philosophy of living that transforms how we relate to the world, to possessions, and to ourselves. It shows that by choosing with awareness, by valuing nourishment over indulgence, and by guarding our attention, we reclaim the deepest forms of freedom, mental, emotional, and spiritual. If this perspective resonated with you, there is much more to explore. Dive deeper into the practices of intentional living. Uncover unique ways to declutter your mind and space, and discover the wisdom woven through our other playlists. From the delicate art of microtopia to the timeless insights of Hollow Era, our channel is a guide to living thoughtfully, simply, and freely. Keep watching, keep learning, and let these ideas reshape not only your surroundings, but your experience of life itself.